Good evening. My name is Marie Murphy. I am the Executive Director of the Kirksville Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of the Chamber, we welcome you to this candidate forum. The Government in Focus series, which is sponsored by the Governmental Affairs Committee of the Chamber, has several events throughout the year. This is one of those events, and we are pleased to be able to help you get to know your candidates better. Tonight's candidate forum is hearing from our candidates for the races for the August 4th primary. Our questions this evening have been put together by members of the Chamber of Commerce's Governmental Affairs Committee, and we appreciate our committee members for all the help that they give. I will be serving as your moderator this evening. Shade Shorten will be our timekeeper. And I also want to let you know that we have printed wording for each of the amendments. So I would like for you to please pick up a copy. And tonight's forum is being videotaped. It will not be live streamed, but it will be put up on our YouTube channel, and I will put a link to that in our Facebook page. Our first group of candidates is for Adair County Presiding Commissioner, and there are two candidates on the Republican side for this position, and in alphabetical order, they are Mark Shahan and Brad Smith, and I'd like for them to go ahead and come up and have a seat. Opening statements, we will begin with opening statements, and each candidate will have 2 minutes. The reason that Shade is sitting there with this lovely equipment is she is going to make sure that we keep this show on the road. So she will be giving you warnings. Please look at the signs. And our first opening statement will come from Mark Shahan.
Well, thanks for the Chamber for putting this on. I know you do it every time we have an election, and it's always new. So, well, my name is Mark Shahan. Is that something beeping? What is that?
Yeah, it's
it's okay.
It's okay.
I thought you was telling me I was done. My name is Mark Shahan. I've been honored to serve as your presiding commissioner for the last 7.5 years. And you know, the reason I want to run for re-election is we've got a lot of work that we've done, and I'd like to see the finish of that. And we made many changes in how the commission operates and how we do business, and we're starting to see some positive results. And I'd like to hang around a little bit longer and work on that. I'm a 4th generation Adair County resident. Been married to my beautiful wife, Charlene, for 43 years, who successfully owned and managed a small business for 25 years before retiring. We've been blessed with 3 grown, hardworking children, 10 grandchildren, of whom several also live in Adair County. We're also engaged in a small row crop and cattle operation. It is important to me that we take care of the county for those who will follow us, and I think it's a great place to live and raise a family. I really enjoy it here. Most of my career had been spent working in the engineering department of a major manufacturing facility. And as the maintenance manager, I was responsible for developing, forecasting, successfully managing a large annual budget and supporting staff. I was successful in developing my team to be considered world-class in the industry. Big part of my career has been spent problem solving, finding the failure's root cause, and communicating with others to implement the best possible solutions. I've utilized my skills to improve our road and bridge department, how the commission addresses current issues, and how we treat our customers. Some examples of these are 8 new 24-foot wide bridges, fold down rails on 8 narrow bridges to allow farm equipment to pass over, successfully managing 2 FEMA disasters, and now looking at another possible one, increasing the amount of rock we applied to the county roads by almost 3 times the previous amount applied, mowing and cutting brush on the right-of-way, becoming an ag-ready county, implementing SB 190 senior tax credit, and restoring the courthouse and making additional payments on the loan to pay it off early. We made many improvements in the Road and Bridge Department by setting goals and creating a path to meet these goals. Some of these are identifying what equipment is needed and building capability in our workforce. This has resulted in doubling the completed work. However, there's still more improvement needed. I will continue to apply all the skills, work ethics, and values that I have developed to make sure all the citizens of Adair County get the most bang for their buck. As your presiding commissioner, I've learned much about not just roads, but many other duties that we are tasked with, like serving on multiple boards, watching state and local programs, so our county can be actively engaged in acquiring funding, testifying at the state level to reverse bad legislation, and paying attention to any changes in the laws that will affect the county. If reelected, I will continue to work just as hard for the residents of Adair County as I have in the last 7 years. This sounds like something you would like to see continue, then please vote for me on August the 4th. I didn't see that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Ready for my introduction? I'm Brad Smith, a lifelong resident of Adair County, fourth generation here in this county. I served on the school board at Shear for 12 years. I was president at that school board for 5. I served in the JCs and the Farm Bureau and had a wonderful experience with both of those. And I just made the cardinal rule of not introducing my wife back there, Louise. I call my soulmate. And then I have 3 children, it says here on this card, and I can't remember their names, but I think it's Daniel, Katie, and Sam. And to go into a little bit of my history is that I was actually born just about 100 yards that way in 1957. So I've been here all my life. I love this community. I've been a part of this community. And I just can't tell you what all it means to me to be here. I have issues that I see that I think need to be addressed. And part of the reasons I'm running is because of the concerns with the budget and other areas. I'm trying not to get into the questions. I was reading. Anyway, like I say, I don't have a whole lot more to say. I've been involved in the county my whole life. I plan to stay here, and that's part of the reason why I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. Brad, you might want to stay up there because you get the first question.
It's new to me. Okay.
Okay, so our first question is, what do you see as the biggest challenge facing Adair County today, and how do you plan to overcome that challenge?
Right now, it seems to be data centers is the hot topic, and there's concerns about the solar projects that's going on. It seems to be covering the county quite wide. There's a lot of landowners that's concerned about it. I think that the first one wasn't handled properly. We got to do things that protect not only the landowner in the project, but also the adjoining landowners, that they are not harmed in this project by such things as loss of property value. It's a real thing. That is one of the things. And with the data centers, there is a lot of things that needs to happen with it. And I can get into that as far as you want me to, is that the first thing you have to do is get a moratorium. And you got to name what the moratorium for 180 days, lay out some of your goals of why the moratorium is, to research how it will affect the county. You need to work in that 180 days. You need to work on the ordinances, the fines, and the licensings that you need to do. But there's a lot of deep work to do to it, because there's different sizes of data centers. Some are very small, not that don't affect that much. The real large ones, you got lots of things that harm the environment, and that's the thing that needs to be addressed in your ordinances and your anyhow, the fact of the somebody, you got to protect the economy and the environment. Is what you got to protect, and make sure that you do your due diligence to see all those things that you need to do. So
Thank you. Mark Shahan, you have 2 minutes.
You need to have a flag on that thing. For me. So, Brad's not wrong. The biggest thing we have to address right now, it seems like it's really a big topic, is all the green energy, not just a data center, which we're not aware of any data center. There could be, but we don't operate that way. We don't operate on what, the rumors or anything like that, but we have been researching all the green energy projects. And ever since they started the solar project, several years ago, we sat in on a lot of meetings. The county really has no teeth on negotiating with the solar facility projects with the landowners. We only have road use agreements, line crossings. We're also, so I did hear, some of them have terrible outcomes. If you're going to enter into these agreements, you better get a lawyer and scrutinize that. And you could probably even Google on what to look for, but I know some unhappy people that signed into that. Anyway, that solar, wind, data center, now we hear pretty sure about the battery storage Ameren is going to have. So there's a lot of things that we are researching, and we're working with other counties, trying to see what they've done. And so it is what we really want to hone in on too is the use and sales tax exemption our legislators passed. Cost us millions of dollars as a $458 million project. They got a 40% tax credit from the federal government, and they had to pay no use or sales tax on that construction of that project. So we don't really know how much we lost. We just know we didn't get it. And, we calculated in the millions of dollars. But that being said, there's 3 more facilities that's going to be built in the county. And then the battery storage things we hear about and what else. So we really got to be on watching out and educating ourselves on the things coming down the pipe. So.
Okay, thank you. Stay up there.
I thought he was next.
No. See, we're switching back and forth. We're keeping you on your toes. Question 2 is, what is your approach to balancing the county budget while maintaining essential services like road and bridge maintenance? You have 2 minutes.
So the county budget doesn't really have a lot to do with the general revenue with road and bridge. They got their own money, but both of those need to look at. We look at the budgets every year. The elected officials propose their budgets. We set money back for capital improvements, and we got to make sure our revenue's there to maintain the services. And the road and bridge as well, do the same thing there. We calculate what equipment's needed, take an assessment of everything in the buildings, what we're going to have to spend any money on those. And then we also, this FEMA claim we have coming, we got to do the work, and hopefully we'll get reimbursed for it, but it still costs money. So in the budgets, we got a buffer there, and sometimes people think that's a lot of money to not spend, but you need, road and bridge budget needs about $1.5 million in reserve just to make sure, we don't have to deal with fixing all the roads back during a storm event. So those are all things you want to look at. We look at revenues, like on the courthouse loan, we manage that. We got over $1 million in that account. So we made an extra payment this year, and we plan on keep doing that so we can pay that off early and get that out of here. So it's a big challenge for all the departments. The law enforcement has a lot of needs, and it's a evolving game for them. The jail is really a money pit, so we always try to look how we can help them too, but they got their own money. And sometimes it's not enough, but we like to work with all the departments on having a good budget, whether it be travel and expense or, maybe election equipment, things like that. So we do look at that, and we have budget hearings every year when we start nearing the end of the year. So 15 seconds. Thank you.
You left us 15. Gee, thanks. Okay, do you need me to repeat the question?
Repeat the question, please.
What is your approach to balancing the county budget while maintaining essential services like road and bridge maintenance?
Well, the main thing is to find all your projects and make sure that they stay within budget. Have your budget defined correctly so that you're not going over. You have to cut where you can cut, but there's the essentials that you can't cut. Overall, the it, I'm stumbling here bad, but anyway, guys, you got to maintain the essential services,
Mhm.
and then you find the areas where you need to make your cuts, and then and cut other areas if you have to. The main thing is to have the courthouse working as a team together to make it work. If it's some place that we can cut over here to make it work over there, that is a problem. Teamwork for the county is essential to make this thing work. And we've got to have open communications on what we need and where we need it. And if there's a place that we don't need it, we cut there, and then we make sure that those that need it have their fund.
Okay. Well, we're going to ask you to stay there
yeah,
because
that's
as you
right.
get the,
That's
you
right.
get the next question.
All right.
All right. How would you prioritize spending if county revenue, like sales tax, property tax, declines in a given year?
Similar to what the other was. You know,
Mhm.
you just got to look for your areas that you can cut. And you got to keep your essentials going. And there's just things that you need to do to prevent problems down the road. And it's just like the roof is supposedly leaking now. It needs to be fixed now, not 2 years from now, not 6 months from now. And the gutters are dumping at the base of the foundation, and that water needs to get to the city street. You got to look at ways to prevent expenses down the road. And there's other areas you can cut. You don't have you can not cut. You don't have to trade equipment as often as you do. We've got a lot of new equipment. We've spent a lot of money. And it's one of those things that we need to watch our pennies as we go. In ag, we had a situation similar to that, and we didn't trade as often as we did. We made sure everything worked like it should and done good maintenance on all our equipment. But that's pretty much it. The other thing is you don't hire extra people that you really don't need. And that's, you got to watch your budget on your personnel very close, because sometimes you just might not be able to make that raise. You may not be able to do those benefits like you have in the past. That's an area where in the past we've had to make tough decisions, but we don't like them. But if it becomes what we have to do, that's what we'll have to do. But the thing of it is to get everybody together as a team to make sure that we're doing it to where there's least amount of harm done to the personnel. That's it.
Thank you.
So you had question 3, same question?
It is separate. Yeah, same question. Would you like for me to repeat it?
No.
Okay.
So we always, throughout the year, we watch revenues and the spends, and then we have the budget planning coming in, last part of the year. Usually we, road and bridge budget, what we really like to watch, because that's really the only budget we manage after it's signed and sent to the Secretary of State. Each elected official, if it was budgeted, they can spend their money however they want to. And as long as they're not over budget, then that's on them. But very few times have we had to do budget amendments. But if something comes up during the year, then we would, move money around to meet that need. But if we lose sales and property tax, the property tax would probably be a little slower, but sales tax, you could drop off pretty quick on some of that. So we're always looking at that with all the new solar facility. I think it increased revenues by assessment by $80 million. That generates a lot of revenue in the county, and like it or not, these other solar facilities are going to increase that revenue as well when they go online. And as long as they're not Ameren, it'll be local assessed. Ameren is state assessed right now, unless you did a Chapter 100. So there's always ways that you could collect more money with agreements with these facilities. We don't like doing Chapter 100s because it looks like we're signing the county up for owning a solar facility, and we've looked at that a lot. We could get money now, but we don't think that we should be signing our kids and grandkids up for owning a solar farm if something hailstorm comes through, destroys it, and they decide to walk away from it. So that's revenue we could have, but we said that's not a good deal. So you always got to watch the revenues coming in. When we had COVID, we were really worried about it, and then they pumped in all that federal monies. With we got 2.9 million in COVID money and 4.9 in ARPA money. Tried to spend it the right way, but that's going away, so you don't rely on that for annual revenues. So anyway, that's what we've done.
Okay. And we're going to have you stay up there because you get the next question first.
Okay.
Like I said, keeping you on your toes. So what role should the presiding commissioner play in attracting new businesses and jobs to Adair County?
So we're engaged in several boards. We're regional planning, economic development. We go to the chamber, governmental affairs, stay engaged, and we can help in any way we can. We give money to economic development every year to help Anastasia go after jobs and businesses in the county or in the city. Most of them are in the city. We have an enhanced enterprise zone right now. If a business comes in, they can get a tax abatement through that. And the solar and wind was in that. And we took them out a few years ago because we don't want these things are coming. And because we have all the substation and power 345 kV power lines. So they're going to come here anyway, whether that incentive is there or not. We had Carolyn and us had a long conversation on whether we should or shouldn't do that. I was on the fence. We did a lot of research. We wound up taking those people out of that type of green energy out of the enhanced enterprise zone, and they're here. They're still coming. So it netted double the money for the schools and all the taxing entities in the county. So that's you might say that we impeded jobs from coming, but we didn't, because we have what they want. So we got to look at those. The enhanced enterprise zone was formed, I think, in 2010 to attract a wind project. We were a depressed area, and that was formed, and they backed out. I think landowner told me they got $100,000 check. We never did nothing because we didn't have that power of transmission line upgraded. And once that happened, Mark Twain transmission line went from a 161 to a 345 kV. That's what opened it up for all these projects we see coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll let you.
Do you need me to repeat?
Yeah, go ahead and read
That's
that.
fine. What role should the presiding commissioner play in attracting new businesses and jobs to Adair County?
Main thing is have communications with all your businesses in the town and with the city itself to make sure that we're working together in a way that is good for all. Like I say, the communications is key. You look for places to build on. And I'm going to address this a little different than what this question has said. The one thing that the solar industry is coming into this county in a way which creates jobs short term, but it is damaging jobs that's already here, because the ag industry is very big in this county and there's a lot of business there. And when these solars cover this farm, it is no longer producing money. And the thing about it is that money recirculates in this county over and over to help keep business here. My big concern is that as these solar farms expand, our businesses are going to shrink, and we're going to have to look for another way to bring business in. It's going to be different, but it's going to be a challenge for us to find the type of industry that would come in here and be something that would be suited for this. And actually, this city's got a pretty big handle in the job market as far as that goes, and finding jobs that go beyond the city itself is a little bit tough in a way. And our Amish friends are expanding quite rapidly. They have several sawmills and lumber yards and things of that nature. But to actually find an industry in the county that's not in town, it's pretty tough. And I'm afraid it's going to get tougher as we go. Anyway, I thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we've asked the four standard questions. And now we go to our questions from the audience. We had a few questions on the data centers. And so what points do you think must be addressed when considering the topic of data centers?
Like I say, the moratorium is key, and it's got to be done before they have their project set up. Because if they set up before that, you can't regulate them like you can if you have the moratorium to get your ducks in a row to have your ordinances. So that you require that they either have sound covering devices or whatever it is, however it's going to affect. And we've got several things. We've got to deal with water, the power grid, and the environmental as far as what runoff there is. There's closed loops, there's open. And the thing about it is, if you don't get this stopped or get this moratorium to start with, you don't have the time to research on how you want to guide them in the direction you want to minimize the damage in the county. That is the problem. You have to, you can guide them in a way that they either stay smaller, or if they do go big, you need to have the sound deafening stuff similar to what they got on the highways like I-70, that type of thing. And then there's other things but the water is key. The water is key because if the county can't keep the water supply, you got to protect the rest of the people in the county. Right now, I talked to a guy that is fully aware of what the city is doing with the water, what their production is, and they're already starting to hit the limit on what they can do. So the city would have to expand their water, or they'll have to find another way to do it. But that's going to be a hardship on the county. It's going to be expensive on the county. And right now, they're already starting to have trouble with confinement buildings having water for them. Some of them are sitting empty now. So it's deeper than what we think. It takes a lot of time, but you got to have your ducks in a row. You got to research, and you got to get it done in a timely fashion. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark?
The question was again?
The question was, what points must be addressed when considering the topic of data centers?
But right now, we're a property rights county. We can't really stop a data center the way it is right now. We can't stop any solar. We can't stop any green energy. We can push back as much as we can, but as far as saying no, we can't. So we've been exploring a lot for the last year and a half. We've been looking at how can we stop these? How can we slow them down? And moratorium would be one way, but if you don't have county zoning, that doesn't go very far. We talked to several counties and several legal people. We had a meeting at the city council there last 2 weeks ago, and then their lawyer said, yeah, you can't do that. We've called lawyers. They said, can't do that. And I know you don't want to hear can't, but you're signing the county up for a big lawsuit. They're probably, you could do one and then fold, but they still might, if you slowed them down, then there'd be days that they didn't work, the days behind they are on the production, you could have to pay all that. So we're not done. We're still exploring. Today, I traveled to another county, talk about what they've done, but they have zoning. So zoning is going to be key if people want to regulate this more. And but we've asked for people, that are interested. Are you interested in rallying the people together to get a petition, see if there's enough signatures in the county for us to justify putting it on a ballot? And if there is, we would contemplate that. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on what zoning looks like, but that'd be a key. And also, we've reached out to the DNR. We talked about water, electricity, noise, pollution, and that's all things you got to look at. A lot of different sizes of data centers. Some of them are not very big at all. Like I think Webster County is one that was 5 acres. It's very low impact on them, but they had 850 people show up to the meeting and called them cowards and hate. There's a lot of hate going on about these things. So when you get to that point, you're not making progress. So
thank you. Stay there.
all right.
This is the last question, guys.
Promise.
Well, if if you're being smart, then I
Okay.
might have to just
All
come
right,
come up
no,
with one.
that's
What do you think are the three most pressing issues that are facing our county in the upcoming years?
The three top
The-
ones?
The three most pressing issues facing us.
Well, the green energy is definitely the top of the list. I think everybody knows that. You know, to me, you could say solar data center and battery storage unit that's really would be the top three. You know, I don't really see anything that's worse than that. You know, we've got 4 circuits coming out of Zachary substation, and that's all new right away. There's a lot of upset people with that, and there's 2 lines going west to Milan, one going south to Thomas Hill, and one going east to Palmyra. And that's upsetting a lot of people. The Aquifer project upset a lot of people. Talk about data centers, green energy, people selling their land. And, you know, we've all got to deal with that. You know, 8 years ago when I ran for commissioner first time, nobody would ever dreamed all this was coming down the pipes. You always had was a power transmission line. Then we had wind farm, and now we're in a solar farm, and now we got all this other stuff coming. So those things, the green energy, power line, grid transmission, is a big deal. We also talked about, you know, we gave rural water $500,000 of the ARPA money. We gave the city $300,000 to build the new clarifier, which helped, but it didn't build it all, to increase that water supply. And so there has been a lot of work meeting the needs out in the county, because all the county water comes through the city. So we try to spend money to help build some infrastructure to not even address the data center. It was already in peril. So it's like I said, there's a lot of work that still needs to be done, not only in this county, but that's why we attend regional planning meetings. When you get 6 counties together talking about the same challenges everybody has in the same county, there's a lot more federal money that can drop in your lap. So that's important as well too.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. Bob?
Get some water if that's okay.
Oh, yes.
It's really dry now. All right. Now, what was the question again?
Okay, what do you think are the three most pressing issues they're facing our county, it says county commission, in the upcoming year?
Okay. And I go back to the data centers and the green energy type thing, what he was talking about there, extremely challenging. And I heard the word property rights. And that is the thing that I think we are failing in this county, is on property rights. The fact that those projects are encroaching on people's personal property rights. Whenever this solar project went in here, it went up to some really nice high-dollar houses, and right outside their backyard is these glass wall, and it affected the value of those houses. I believe in property rights to do with what they want until it comes to the point to where you are damaging the property rights of the individual that's joining you. It's kind of like damming up a creek and not letting anybody else have the water back in the old days. You can't do that. You're hurting someone else. You don't do something where you hurt someone else. That's one of the arguments. And that's one of the arguments with this moratorium. And the legal end of it is you got to be able to put up ways to where you're protecting the other individuals. Those property rights group, that one group, is their goal is to get one property bought. And then whenever they put this up, then it starts expanding out because it winds up devaluing people's property and they start moving. And that's something that we can't allow. And it's very challenging. And if it's not navigated properly, you could get in a lawsuit, but there is a way to navigate in it. And it's one of those things, when I went to run for this position, I never even dreamed of outside money coming in to go against me. But anyway, it's there. And it tells me that there is something the commission can do, or they wouldn't be spending the money. It's that you got to know how to navigate through it and get it done. And that's one of those things. I don't like the word can't. I heard it. And there comes a time to where you got to step up, see what you can do, and do it. But it's very, very tough challenge to navigate the path that you need to take.
Okay, well, thank you very much. This concludes our questions for our presiding commissioner candidates. I want to thank the candidates for sharing your time with us, and we wish you the best in the election. And we also thank you for being willing to be of service to the public. We will now hear from the candidates for our state representatives in District 3. The District 3 covers Sullivan, Mercer, Putnam, and the western part of Adair County. The seat is open as a result of Representative Danny Busick's term ending this year. We have 3 Republican candidates for presiding commissioner heading into the fall election against Democrat Corey Lubering. I have asked Corey to come as well. The candidates will be responding in alphabetical order. They are Todd Caraway, Corey Lubering, Jeremy Mosley, and Jason Sussman. We will begin with opening statements, and Todd Caraway will be the first to respond. Todd, you have 2 minutes.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Todd Caraway. I want to start by thanking the Chamber of Commerce for having this event and allowing us the opportunity to address you all. And thank you all for coming out and joining us this evening. My name is Todd Caraway, and I'm from Kirksville, Missouri. I was born and raised here. Got family all over District 3, Schuyler County, Putnam County, and Adair County. I've been married to my wife, Angela, for over 35 years now. The baby you heard crying a minute ago was my brand new grandchild, who has since escaped, thankfully. So we're not having to hear Mr. Oliver cry. I started this journey a year ago now. Not intended to become a politician. I still don't intend to become a politician. I'm here in hopes of having the opportunity to go to Jefferson City should you elect me and solve problems. We have problems that need to be solved. Obviously, everybody here I think knows that. We also need to get noticed. I started this out hearing the rumor that I would go to Jefferson City and hear that you guys are north of 36, you're north of 70, and you don't matter. And it turned out that we went to Jefferson City and I had people actually say that to me. So I'd like to have the opportunity to go down there and rectify that. And that means knocking on the door repeatedly until they open up and listen to us so that we can get things solved. We have lots of good people up here. We have lots of good experts, and I've spent the last year building relationships with those folks and relationships with folks in Jefferson City so that we can get problems solved. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Corey, you are up next.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Corey Lubering. I'm running as a Democratic candidate here for Missouri State House of Representatives for District 3. Originally, I'm from a small farming community just south of Jefferson City called St. Thomas, Missouri, where we bought land on my grandparents' cattle farm. And that's where I grew up, going to high school just outside of Jeff City and growing up where the Ozarks start. Came up here for my undergraduate degree in 2007, got my undergraduate degree in chemistry, met my wife and settled down here in Kirksville. And since then, I have got a master's degree in public health and also am currently working on my doctorate degree in health sciences. I've been here in Kirksville now more than I've been anywhere else in my life and have really become devoted to this community and really come to love this community. Since I've been here, I've worked a slew of different parts of the community and got to learn different aspects of it, such as working the Ice House down on the corner of Illinois and Marion Street. I also worked at Merritt's Research Center, and I used to flip rental apartments here in town and provide maintenance to them. Worked for a stint at Northeast Regional, doing admissions, switchboard, and as a financial counselor, and have been working the past decade at A.T. Still University doing international research. In that time, I've really come to appreciate the challenges that are faced here in Northern Missouri. And becoming a resident here, the biggest thing that worries me is not just something that's local here to our section of Northeast Missouri, but something that spans the entire state. And that is just that I feel that our representatives down in Jeff City don't represent us anymore. And I think that was evident by the overturning of Prop A and Amendment 3 from the past election. And I just want to bring the voice of voters back from Northern Missouri to Jefferson City. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeremy Mosley, you would be next.
Well, good evening, everyone, and I'd like to thank the Kirksville Chamber of Commerce for putting on the forum. It's nice to be here, and it's nice to be in an air-conditioned room tonight because it's pretty warm outside. We were baling hay before we came over here, and I was praying to the good Lord that we didn't plug the baler, and we didn't. So I'd like to start off by thanking Corey and Todd and Jason for running in this race, because this is what democracy is all about, is giving people a choice. And if you don't have choices, you're just stuck with one person. So I think that choice is important. As Marie said, my name is Jeremy Mosley. I'm from Pollock, Missouri. I'm a fifth generation farmer and rancher from Sullivan County. I graduated from Milan High School and I went to the University of Missouri and got my degree in agriculture. After I graduated, I came back, done a short stint of working with ConAgra Frozen Foods as a quality assurance supervisor, and then with MFA in sales. I then transferred and went to work for USDA Farm Service Agency and went through a training program, came back and managed the local office in Sullivan County. I married my wife, Heather. We've been married 25 years. We have two sons, Dakota, who is in Yokota, Japan, as a military contractor there to a naval hospital, and Garrett, who is a junior at the University of Missouri, majoring in agriculture. I spent 26 years with USDA Farm Service Agency as a local director, a district director in 14 counties here in north central Missouri. And then in 2020, I was appointed as the acting state executive director and was deputy state executive director. The three main things that I'm concerned with is education, agriculture, and infrastructure. And I think those are important to this area because that is the driver for all of our small businesses and for Main Street here in North Missouri. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason Sossman.
Can I have about 5 seconds to thank our veterans? Or
Yes.
will that be part of my speech? Okay. So before I do want to start my introduction, I would like to thank any of the veterans that are here in the room tonight. Thank you for your service and thank you for participating. So now we can start. I'm Jason Sossman. I am here asking for your vote to be your next state representative. I'm here tonight with my beautiful bride, Amanda. We have two boys, Jeremy and Austin, who are both employed in the agricultural fields. So I get asked this question a lot. What's it mean to be ready on day one? Ready on day one means having the connections and having the relationships that I've built over the last few years. I serve as the current Adair County Chairman. I've served in that capacity for 3 years. I also serve as one of 68 members of the state GOP. That right there gave me an opportunity to build some great relationships with some very conservative legislators that are going to be senior legislators if I'm so blessed to be elected. My dedication to the Republican Party reflects further than just the Republican Party. Because what I do for our community, our county, our state, it's protecting people. It looks like things like removing pornographic books from libraries. I'm the one who stands in front of these diseases that come into our community. My dedication to the people of District 3 is unwavering. Republican, Democrat, Independent, it doesn't matter. You are all one of us. While my opponents are probably going to be spending time catching up, building these relationships, I am ready on day one. And that's my objective. My objective is, number one, to be there for you. In closing, results are my mission for District 3. Success for you is the plan. Thank you.
Thank you. So this will conclude the opening statements. Candidates, we are now ready for our question and answer session. So please do let me know if you need for me to repeat a question, because, you know, if you're like me, sometimes it flies right back out. Corey Lubering, you were going to be the first one up. What state level policies would you pursue to bring jobs and economic growth to small towns in our district?
So as I've been traveling on the campaign trail and hitting different parts of our district here in District 3, whether it's here in Kirksville, out in Unionville, Milan, or Princeton, or even the smaller towns in these communities, I hear the same issues no matter where I'm at. And those two issues are the fact that our infrastructure is deteriorating in this part of the country and cannot even support bringing out bigger businesses to these communities to be able to draw these competitors to our areas to provide new growth. And also our social infrastructure doesn't exist within the communities to be able to keep people that are currently there and to draw new people to these communities. And what I mean by that is just access to groceries that are within a reasonable distance. You don't have to drive a long way to get to accessible, affordable childcare, so people can move to the area where they don't have support structures, family in the area, and they can work these jobs as they come available and not have these support structures of people in place to watch their kids and grow their families. And it's the same thing with our kids that are growing up as well in these communities. If the jobs aren't available there, if the social structures aren't available there to keep them in these communities, they're going to move elsewhere where the jobs and the supports are. And I think these are focuses that need to be brought policy-wise down to Jefferson City, is to address our infrastructure issues here in North Missouri and to address our social structure issues, such as access to affordable childcare and access to healthcare needs of these areas. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys are like Johnny on the spot, you know.
You've got us trained. We watched you whip up on Mark and Brad, so we don't want to be the next whipping post here for sure. So, you know, the question is, what state level policies would you pursue to bring jobs and economic growth to the small towns in our district? And I think as we travel around the district, we see Main Street is beginning to shrink. Our population is beginning to shrink. And the first thing we've got to do to bring jobs here is we have to improve our infrastructure. For the farmers, for the agriculture is our main business that drives our economy here. And it's not just the farming out there. Agriculture is served by, whether it's Kraft, whether it's Smithfield packing plants, whether it's the businesses right here on the square that serve those people. So we have to be able to get our products in and out of here. So we have to have good roads and bridges, and we are being neglected deeply out here in the rural community. You know, 33%, and this come from Danny Busick of the Northwest MoDOT Fund, was taken from us and put in down on the 63 and I-70 project. And the roads that we are getting fixed are not lasting. And so that's important. The second thing is, we have got to provide education and training to our young folks that are graduating. We need more plumbers. We need more electricians. We need more carpenters to help build our infrastructure here and help make it possible to bring more people in. You know, and if we're going to do that, we have got to have homes here. I don't know if you've been to some of the outskirts, you know, places, the availability for people to live is down, not lots of new homes. Now, it may not be so much here in Kirksville, but in the rural areas, it is a problem. So I think that that's the thing we got to do. We got to start with the new infrastructure bills, and we have to start with on-the-job training and start with our trades for our kids and stuff as they graduate high school here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, this falls right into my wheelhouse. As a 30-year plus business owner and developer, not only have I built my own businesses and built a portfolio of business, I also helped others build business. I am obviously a huge business advocate. When I look at our young folks coming out, they can go to college and get a $200,000 loan, but are unable to obtain a $25,000 loan to start a small business. There's something wrong with that picture. And we have to change that, because I know that there's young men and women out there that have the hustle, that want to go out and do something, but finances hinder them. So I have actually worked on some legislation that will open up, it'll create a private-public partnership that'll be much more in-depth than what has ever been presented before. And this will allow some of our wealthiest, we have billionaires in this state, and this is going to allow some of those folks to be able to invest in the future of Missouri and help build back our communities. Because when young men and women can stay and they can raise their families and they can afford to raise their families here, good things happen. But we must get rid of some of these very unnecessary regulations that are hurting business. There's far too many horror stories that I hear out there where cities and state are regulating businesses to death. We see that right here in Kirksville. The regulations are harming business, and we need to get those pathways opened up. And that is going to be an important issue that we're going to have to deal with. And anybody that goes to Jefferson City needs to be prepared. You have to understand business, and you have to understand how to change the broken system. Thank you.
Thank you.
So in traveling around District 3, and especially in the rural areas, rural communities, it's very clear that there are a few of these top key areas that have to be addressed. Healthcare is one of those. We have to make sure that we maintain access to affordable healthcare. We've got some great rural hospitals in our district, but we got to make sure that they're taken care of. So that's one area that I would focus on, and it would be at the top of my list. Maintaining our rural schools also would be at the top of my list. Those two things are our two biggest employers in all of our rural areas. So we have to make sure that those two things stay healthy. Jeremy mentioned this, and I would echo it. Our infrastructure, our roads are the next thing on the list. If you drive 136 over to Princeton, over to Unionville, you'll see very quickly that road has to be addressed. There's many others like that in our area that frankly have been neglected. And it is because the money has been diverted. It's not going where it should be. So those things are things that would be top on my list, and I think they can be tackled. But once again, it's going to take bringing people to the table and building a relationship, finding common ground, and then solving problems, getting things done. Lastly on that, I think is just making sure that we're tackling things that could be done in the future, such as perhaps right here in Adair County, a regional jail. You mentioned, one of our commissioners mentioned earlier, the problem with our jail being a money pit. We might need to look at a regional jail here. Now of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so question 2, what would you do in Jefferson City to support family farms and agricultural producers in our district?
Okay, well, I think that's a great question, because as everyone knows, the agriculture producers are shrinking. Age of the producer just keeps getting old. The average age of the producer keeps getting older and older. And as they go out, young people cannot afford to come in. Whenever I was with USDA, we had farm loans. We done beginning farmer loans for, I think it was $600,000 for a real estate loan. And we could do up to $1.4 million on a guaranteed loan where we worked with banks. And whenever I went to meetings, we were the only ones working towards that on the federal side. The state had no programs. So, one, I think for the existing producers, data centers and the solar farms is a big discussion. And we talked about what is legal, what is not. Well, I think Jefferson City needs to get involved so that this land is just not being able to be yanked out from underneath our producers that are here and farming and continuing just for a small few to get larger and larger. Second, I think that the state needs to invest in our young people again. Our state needs to have beginning farmer programs where whether it's a grant program, whether it's a loan. The one thing that I had some experience with when we were loaning money with USDA was that program began to replenish itself because as we made loans to young folks and they paid them back in, then we were able to that replenished that fund and that money was able to go back out. So it wasn't costing the taxpayer over and over and over on those programs. And I think that is really important that we do that. 15 seconds. So in my interest in agriculture is we got to find ways that we keep our current farmers farming, and we have to develop ways that we help our young folks get involved, because just starting at graduating college and coming out to start today is impossible on your own. Thank you.
Thank you.
So with a farming background that I have, I grew up on a farm and really never left the farm. I have seen over the years how many local farms have disappeared. I'm old enough, but I'm not that old, that I saw in the late 1970s and early 80s just how many local farms disappeared. We can build that back, but we must think outside the box. A great example, my family, my wife actually utilized a program from the government, and we rehabbed a barn and purchased dairy cattle. And she had a organic raw dairy that she operated, and it worked out great. She paid her loan off in about a year. It was a very low interest loan, but it was still a loan. It wasn't free money. And, we need to think outside the box on a lot of these things. And, when we start looking at our issues, our schools, our hospitals, our nursing homes, they're all feeding somebody. And that food is sadly coming from Mexico. It's coming from different countries. We raise some of the best beef, some of the best pork right here in North Missouri. Why are we not feeding our children? Why are we not feeding our elderly? And why are we not feeding our sick? We can do this on a small scale. It's tough. It's labor intensive, but it creates an opportunity for small scale farmers to come back where you can make a living on 40 acres. I want to get government out of the way so that we can get back in to working and feeding our own. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, this one's an important one, but it's not an easy one, in my opinion. I think there are things that we can do to support this, from fighting eminent domain to pursuing new programs. And there is a new program that I've talked with some people at the state who are already elected and down there. One of these programs involves taking new young people that are coming out of high school and college who want to start farming and hooking them up with older folks who are retiring from farming, but do not have family who want to take over their farms. Now, there's no way to get into the details of this here this evening, but I am talking with people about this program down there. And if elected, I will pursue this program. I believe that there is a way to take this program and make it come to fruition with the help of Farm Bureau, which I have spoken with about this, the cattlemen's that I've spoken with about this. And I think that there are innovative ways that we can help young farmers and ranchers get started. It is completely almost impossible for somebody young to just start farming or ranching right out of the box unless they can inherit it or they got some help, because the equipment costs and the startup costs are just astronomical. Anybody who farms or ranches knows this. Now, the other thing that I think we can do immediately is we can get more funding for VOTEC programs, ag programs in VOTEC in schools. So I'll leave it at that because I see our time's going down quickly. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think this is an issue that we all agree on what the solutions need to be and everything. And I end up standing up here repeating the same stuff that you've heard. I mean, I agree. We need to look at eminent domain. We need to find ways to get food from farmers direct to consumers. That was something that we did on the local farm that I grew up in central Missouri. We were priced out by big consumers down on the Osage sale lots and everything. And we were selling higher quality beef to them, but our prices were run down because that's what the big competitors brought to the table. And we had to sell at lower rates. And we had smaller farms that banded together to sell directly to families and cut out the sale lots in order to be able to make ends meet. And those are things that we should invest in. It's kind of like the Kiwanis farmer market, where we can have way for producers to get food directly to people. But there needs to be more investor to that. And I feel like a lot of these topics that we talk about on these other questions keep coming back. And one thing that I think about here that also needs to be addressed is related to healthcare needs. As what we've talked about before, we are in one of the largest healthcare deserts in the state where it comes to emergency services, obstetrics care, and everything. But one thing that's really affecting farmers right now is suicide rates among farmers are the highest that they've ever been in the history of this nation. And that's because farmers are struggling to be able to make ends meet, to keep their programs growing. And the only way they see out is to take their life. And that's tragic. And so apart from just finding ways that we need to be able to help these operations financially to sustain themselves, whether it's getting their goods, making ends meet, being able to repair their equipment, we also need to make healthcare accessible, whether it's mental health, whether it's the regular health, so that they have somebody that they can turn to in these dark times. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're on to question 3. And some of you have touched on this, so this is a nice segue. How do you view the state's role in supporting higher education and technical vocational training in our region?
Well, I think, we have a responsibility through the state to foster education, without a doubt. I don't think anybody on this panel is going to disagree with that. But we have to do this wisely. We can't just continue to throw money at education and hope it works. I have been a proponent all the way through on this race that wants to look at how we can make education better. And, that's a very broad statement, I know, but we have 2 minutes to discuss it. Locally, obviously we have Truman and we have ATSU here. These are great opportunities for our community. From a business standpoint, I look at the economic impact that this school has. If we were to lose either one of these schools, the economic impact would be devastating to this community. So, when there was a recent 50% cut in education for Truman University, I was opposed to it. I made phone calls. And, you know, I was glad to see that that funding was brought back, but we still have to look at this. This story is not done. We will continue to look at those costs and based on the enrollment at the schools. So when it comes to the vocational training, we need to start advancing in technology. I mean, when I got to understand the vocational program through the Kirksville School District, I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought it created many opportunities for children that decided they did not want to go on and receive a 4-year degree. So, but now we're moving into a whole nother stage. We talked about data centers. That's all revolving around AI. And that technology, we must get to work, and we must build a platform so that our children can learn that and grow from it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, what Jason said is absolutely correct. ETSU and Truman are essentially the lifeblood of Kirksville. I mean, right next to agriculture. We can't live without either one of them. So our support for them has to be there. Now, ATSU is solid and growing, obviously. Truman is going through some, pains right now. I believe Truman will make a comeback. They're going to have to adapt. I believe they will. But it's going to take a little bit of time. And they're going to, make some changes along the way. How the state plays into that, I think, is kind of an interesting role. And I'm not sure that I know the answer to that, frankly. So I'm not going to pretend to say that I have a silver bullet answer to that question. The funding has to be there, but the oversight has to be there as well. So I would be the first person to say that, well, while I want to support Truman, and I would support Truman 100%, I would expect them to show some results. And I think that they can do that. So I'm not sure that there is a magic answer to that question, other than we have to have them, and it's in our best interest to make sure that things get better. And I think that we're going to see things get better over time. So I think I'll leave it at that. I think I'm confident in their future. So I'll say that much.
Thank you.
Well, again, as I said in the previous question, I think we agree on a lot of the same things that I've said. And to avoid sounding like a broken record, I mean, I agree that we need to have involvement with our higher education. I think that just having regular accessibility to the leaders here at our academic institutions and being able to understand what their needs are, their representation and down in Jefferson City is key in order to being able to support them. At the same time, I don't think that there is any strings that should be attached to funding down in Jefferson City to academic financial support. I think that institutions need to be able to have their academic independence and be able to pursue whatever curriculum they want to promote without any strings being attached to any funding that they're given. So they need to know that we're there to support them and that we're overseeing the money that we're giving them, but that we're not coming in and saying, hey, we can give you this, but only if you do this. At the same point, I think that we also do need to invest within our technical schools as well. Being a high schooler during the late 90s and early 2000s and everything, I do very much remember the very push for go to college. Everybody should go to college. 4-year college for everybody. College is great. And I didn't have any other future in mind except to go to a 4-year college. And I excelled in high school and I went to college and I sucked and I struggled and I didn't have any study skills and I had to do some growing up and to go back and succeed. Since that time, my sister and my brother, they both went to Lynn State Technical College and they got an amazing associate's degree. My sister went on to get her master's degree, and my brother now works very high up for the state. And I think that knowing these options to kids and being able to promote these options to kids and say, hey, you have a lot of different opportunities for your future, and to know that the support is there from Jefferson City is key.
Thank you.
Well, this is the worst part of going last in these questions because everybody's covered great topics and everything that goes on. Well, I mean, here's what I see the state's role in supporting higher education. We have to fund education. We can't say that education, it plays second fiddle, because though education is what brings our young people in, and they're the ones that's going to be getting the jobs and paying into Social Security, and eventually the ones that keeps those programs going for us. As far as Truman, it's imperative that system heal and get the enrollment up. I mean, I talked to several folks who have rentals here in town. You know, we're talking 65, 75% occupancy. I mean, that hurts the economy right here in Kirksville. It has to be repaired. You can't have 900 kids taking classes online in Timbuktu and hurting the economy and getting a degree. You know, at the same time, I say that we need to fund education, but the state has a responsibility to be sure that the education that is being taught is education, and that we do not have teachers and schools pushing agendas of their own. And I'm not going to get into several agendas, but education is reading, writing, and arithmetic. And we got to be sure that our schools that's what's being taught there with the funding that we send to them. As far as trade schools, I talked about that earlier. We need more electricians. We need more plumbers. We need more carpenters. We need those people out here in the trades to help build the infrastructure that I talked about earlier. You know, and one thing, you know, you looked at a sheet that was given to me by superintendents, about 50 bills introduced in the education field last term. You know, I mean, some of it ridiculousness. We need to stop that, and we need to let our local school boards run our schools and let local control be in charge. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to question 4. How will you make sure a district spanning 4 counties gets equal attention and representation in Jefferson City?
Finally, an easy question. This one is easy for me. If I go down there, I think, you know, I said this earlier, I think it starts with just keep knocking on the door, you know, until they let us in. We don't get noticed a lot, followed by hard work, being present every day and you know, through everything that we can do, determination, being able to work with everybody there that will let us in, and then following through with everything that we can get to be a part of. You know, in the 4 counties up here, it's like 4 different worlds. You start traveling around and it really is. It's like 4 different worlds up here. But we're filled with and blessed with these 4 counties full of fantastic people, hardworking, just wonderful people. And they deserve everything that we can give them. So if you elect me and you send me to, you know, down there to be your next representative, I will give it my absolute utmost effort that I can put forth. And I will knock on the door until they let us in. I will get a seat at the table, and I will make sure that we're in the game, and that they hear us, and that they let us get stuff done for the people right here. So I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to agree with what Todd said. I think that up here we have a great community. We have amazing people. We're one of the largest state House of Representative districts around. We're not the largest, but we're up there. And I think that people need to know about the challenges that we face And whoever is representing us down there, whether it be me or one of these gentlemen that's sitting at the table, needs to know that it's not only cooperation and being able to work across the aisle or being able to work with people within your own party and trying to find something that really benefits the masses in general. At the end of the day, whoever gets elected is there to represent District 3. They are put there by the constituents of District 3, and they answer to the constituents of District 3, not the party, not to the governor, not to the president, not to whoever's putting money in their pocket. They are there. We are going to be there to represent you. And that's what we need to be held accountable for. And we need to stick by what this district needs when we fight for them. And by standing up for our needs and standing up for our people and continually bringing that to the table, regardless of party, regardless of people's income, regardless of where they're located, making sure that we are known and we are respected up here in northern Missouri, down in Jefferson City, is key to whoever is sit down there. That's all I gotta say.
All right, thank you.
I think you get to go last this time.
Yes, you do.
I know we're missing the page. Jason, I was trying to figure out who was up, but I could just repeat the same things over and over that these gentlemen are going to say. But I think we've been doing it, haven't we, guys? To running across the district, 4 counties. It's been a rewarding experience for me. No matter what the outcome is in the end, I've got to meet a lot of fabulous people. But I think the key thing to representing you and representing the people of this district is something that my grandmother used to tell me all the time. I wish you would just listen to me. And I think that that's important. Whoever goes down there has got to listen to the people of this district. What Mercer County needs, what Adair County needs, and what Putnam and Sullivan County needs. It's all going to be a little bit different. And how do we do that? By representation. I think when you're elected and you go down there and you come back, you just can't hole up in your house or in your business and do your own thing. You got to be committed to having listening sessions in each community. And you got to be committed to listening to the people and what they need. And see to it that regulations is not holding them back in their businesses. And that's what I'm committed to do, is listen to you all and what you need, and then go down there and fight for you every day that I'm in office, if you're so kind enough to send me to Jefferson City. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we live in the beautiful area called Forgotten-topia. Many of the people in Jefferson City have forgotten about us, but that does not make us any less relevant. My campaign has been focused on building District 3 to be the greatest district in this state. It's simple. If you know me, you know I go in and I shake things up. That's been my philosophy for a long time. But I'm not going to have to do that this time, because I've built those relationships. I've had the conversations. I actually drafted legislation that Danny Busick carried and has been pre-filed in Jefferson City. I'm the only candidate that's done that. And I went out and I got to work. I found legislators that are going to be senior legislators that will get behind this legislation, and it protects our rural farms. That's just one piece that I've worked on. But those relationships are not, for me, they're not a knock on the door. They're a phone call, because I have their cell phones. I'm having conversations with these people every week. I am visiting with different legislators across this state. So my goal is to make sure that we will never be known as Forgotten-topia. This is a great district. I see great potential, and I plan on making the rest of the state aware of it if they don't already know. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and now for the audience questions. I think we've touched on a couple of the questions already, but there is one, and it's not an easy that we've gotten a couple of questions on. What are your thoughts on Amendment 3? And are you in favor of ending all abortions or allowing exceptions?
So Amendment 3 is what the question
Amendment
is on.
3.
Okay. And Amendment 3 is going to be on the November ballot and everything. So I, as a healthcare researcher, I am in favor of allowing access to abortions within the first trimester and in case of rape and incest. I think that those exceptions need to be there. And the reason that I am pro this is because the way medical coding currently is within the state of Missouri, if you get treated for an ectopic pregnancy, it is coded within the healthcare system as an abortion procedure. And also, women that experience miscarriages, it is coded within the healthcare system as having a spontaneous abortion. And there is currently women who are seeking care who are experiencing a miscarriage and can't receive the care that they need because there's still a fetal heartbeat present. And therefore, they have to wait until either the pregnancy is fully terminated naturally before the woman can receive care, or that woman has perished in some cases. I want to make sure that the legislation that is drafted is unambiguous so that our healthcare providers are free to treat people within our state and people know exactly in what scenarios they can receive an abortion. And I mean, that's what I believe scientifically. Personally, I'm a Catholic. If it was my belief, I wouldn't pursue an abortion, but it's not my decision to make that decision for everybody else. That's my personal religious belief. And there are plenty of other people with other beliefs. And who am I to say that my belief stands above everybody else's? And so I respect everybody's situation, whatever delicate it may be, to make that decision between themselves and their healthcare provider, and not have us here in Jefferson City step in to make that decision for anybody else. Thank you.
All right, and since you're missing a page,
I think I'm next if I follow through.
Yes.
What was on the page? Well, this is a simple answer for me. So Amendment 3, am I going to vote for Amendment 3 in November? Absolutely. Because it limits, it puts limitations on abortions. Do I think that goes far enough? I do not. It's simple for me. I believe life begins at conception. And, I think that we need to let God's will move forward. And in no way, shape, or form am I in favor of abortion. It goes against my religious beliefs. And you know what? If that causes folks not to vote for me, then I can live with that. And I'm okay with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason, you're next.
God doesn't make mistakes. People do, but God doesn't. Is Amendment 3 perfect? No. But it's what we have to do today to stop as much abortion as we can. Why would we ever punish the unborn because of the acts of somebody that did something horrific? We should always punish those that commit the crime. We have laws in place for that. Children are our future. And if we find it acceptable to snuff out those lives because they're an inconvenience, because of financial reasons, I don't know what our world is coming to. I do know that in District 3, Amendment 3 failed miserably, the original Amendment 3. I believe somewhere upwards of 70%. Right here in Adair County, 56% of the people said no to all abortions. We had this new Amendment 3, we had Amendment 3 thrust on us because of Kansas City, because of Columbia, because of St. Louis. This is not who we are in District 3, and I will always stand for life. I will always defend the precious, the vulnerable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to vote for Amendment 3. It is the best that we have on this particular subject. It's better. I think it's already been said. It's the best outcome for what we're going to get. This is a difficult subject. I am a pro-life person, but my personal beliefs are mine and I won't thrust them on anybody else. I'm also a person who believes that it's not my place to judge. I believe that it's God Almighty's place to judge. So you can believe whatever you want. I will reserve my right to believe how I want in this matter. I believe in protecting life, but I also believe that it's not my place to tell somebody else what to do. So I will vote for Amendment 3. I wish things were different. I would like to have a better outcome. And I think it's already been echoed here. I agree with these gentlemen and what they've already said mostly. So I think that this is going to tie into one of our other amendments, Amendment number 4. And it's one of the reasons why Amendment 4 is so important that we vote yes on Amendment 4. I'll say that much. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this concludes this concludes our questions for our state representative candidates. I'd like to thank you again for sharing your time with us, and we wish you the best in the election. And we want to thank you for being willing. Next up is our state Senate candidates. It would seem that we have several conflicts tonight. But the Missouri Senate District 18 seat is open due to the term limits on Cindy O'Laughlin, and the primary candidates include Republicans Dusty Blue, Ed Lewis, and Greg Sharp, who we have with us today. And then Democrats are John Lake Camp, who is here, and Nick Miller. The candidates, again, will be responding in alphabetical order. Opening statements is where we will begin. And so, John Lake Camp, since we don't have Dusty Blue here, you're up.
Thank you. I want to thank the Kirksville Area Chamber of Commerce for putting this on tonight. And I want to thank all of you that spent your time to come here and to listen to us candidates. We appreciate it. My name is John Laycamp, and I am running for Senate in the 18th. My wife and I have lived on our family farm near Centralia in Audrain County for close to 40 years. I taught high school industrial arts for a few years after I graduated from the University of Missouri at Columbia with an agriculture degree. While farming, we owned and operated a small business for about 30 years. For more information about me, since we're limited with time, you can go to johnlaycamp.com. I have a webpage there, and you can look me up and learn a lot more about me. My priorities, if I'm elected, First will be properly funding our schools, our public schools. We charted at $190 million this next year, the legislators should have. And I'll work to stop private school vouchers. They found 60 million to give to them. Healthcare. We have to work hard to keep our rural hospitals and clinics open in Northeast Missouri. I believe that healthcare is a human right for everybody. I will work to protect the personal life choices of the citizens in Northeast Missouri. And I will work especially hard to get the dark money out of politics in Missouri. There's too many candidates that are bought by big money, and we need candidates to work for the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg?
Well, good evening. I'm Greg Sharp. I'm the 4th District State Representative at the moment, which is the largest district in the state. Brashear in Adair County, Schuyler, Scotland, Clark, Lewis, Knox, Shelby, and a little piece of Monroe, the South Shelby School District. I've been the state rep for 8 years, and I'm seeking the office of state senator with Cindy O'Laughlin terming out, and I'm terming out also. I'm unabashedly a Northeast Missouri guy. I've farmed all my life in Lewis County since I got out of school here in Northeast Missouri State, and farmed in Lewis County and sold seed for Pioneer Hybrid for almost 40 years. And advocating for Northeast Missouri, for rural Missouri is what I do. I hope I've done a pretty good job. I've spent a lot of time in Kirksville, almost as much as I did when I went to school here, because my 4th district, almost all the Echo Deco stuff was in Kirksville or Hannibal. So I certainly spent a lot of time up here with you all. And I'm a public school guy, period. I think the number one job is to fund it. We came close, a couple $100 a student. Take that as a warning, because I don't know if we're going to talk about 5 much, but I showed I would vote against my caucus and stand up for the people of Northeast Missouri. And I'd be proud to represent everybody and look forward to the rest of the questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to just ask you to stay there, Greg, because we're going to have kind of a presiding commissioner type thing since there are only 2 of you. All right. This concludes our opening statements. The candidates are now going to get their question and answer session. So question 1, Greg, is what is the biggest economic challenge facing Northeast Missouri, and what specific legislation would you support to address it?
Well, I've been involved quite a bit in economic development. The one thing that, as far as got accomplished during this, was getting the funding for Northeast housing out of Memphis, Missouri. And I don't think there was a house built in Adair that's part of that district, but getting, we call it workforce housing, that was a program that's built 15 new houses in a lot of places that there hadn't been any new houses in a lot of towns. The first one was in Lancaster, there's a couple in Queen City, and 4 in Memphis, and 1 in Lewistown, and 1 in Edina. And that's kind of the result that legislation is hard. I'll tell you right now, it's hard getting it through both places, and it ought to be hard. But getting that was something that desperately needed to be done during the COVID years, and I was very proud of that. But I've also been a farmer and involved in a lot of ag-related ventures, ethanol plant at Macon, biodiesel. I was on the Missouri Soybean Board for 15 years, and on the ag side, I was very proud to be endorsed by Farm Bureau by 11 out of the 12 counties that showed up that night. So thank you, Thomases. But anyway, I think I've been an advocate for agriculture and for workforce and employing people. I'm enough of a conservative. People working and paying taxes pays the bills and makes this world go round and round. So I've been an employer and a businessman for almost 50 years. So supporting that is what I think is important. We'll probably get to Truman a little bit later.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll let that one go for now. But anyway, I'm proud to be from Northeast Missouri, and thank you all.
Thank you.
Well, as agriculture has gotten bigger, farmers have gotten larger and larger, and we've seen fewer farms. I started farming back in the 70s. So I've seen this continue all the way through, and farming's always been a tough road to hoe. So to do something about it, I think we need to make sure that we have internet service, fast, reliable, to all our rural communities and to as many people out on the rural areas as we possibly can. And then we have to spend the money on education and training. And I'm not talking so much K through 12 here. I'm talking about 2-year programs and adult education programs to update the people so that they can do these higher tech type jobs. I don't see manufacturing coming back to the Midwest. I'm sorry. It'd be a great thing maybe if it did, but I think those days have passed. We've got to educate ourselves and we've got to learn and we have to move forward. Thank you.
And I'm going to have you stay there. So question number 2, and you've touched on this, does have to do with agriculture. It is a major driver of our regional economy. What are your top priorities for supporting farmers, ranchers, and agribusinesses?
Well, as I said, as our farmers have gotten larger and larger, there's many reasons probably why that's happened. But I think we need to support through the state level, low interest loans to small farms and beginning farms to keep people, to get them back, and for small businesses to get started in our rural communities and to help bring them back. And like I said, we've got to spend money on education to get the people up to snuff so that we can do the new technology.
Okay, thank you.
I went to school here in the 70s, got a general ag degree. I only had 3 instructors on the campus, so you certainly learned to get along with all of them, or life would have been pretty miserable. When I went to college, I just came to school and went home. But my life, as far as a good college education, kind of started on the social part was when I got on the soybean board. And soybeans still the biggest crop in the state. Ag's the biggest industry in the state. Soybeans the biggest crop in the state. And when getting on that soybean board opened up a lot of opportunities. I was fortunate enough, I went to 1st, 2nd grade with Brian Munslinger and got involved in the ethanol plant at Macon, which fortunately was good for the area, good for Northeast Missouri. And on the biodiesel side, was heavily involved with the biodiesel plant at Mexico, Missouri, and the one at Paseo, and sold a lot of shares. So value added has always been very important to me. Starting farming, I got a beginning farming along with Farmers Home Administration. And you can imagine where I was at in the 80s with that deal.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I survived. I was there long enough. And those sort of things like the MoBucks program that the state will put money in certain banks so they could loan that out at lower interest. But farming was hard to get started when I did it and still hard to get started right now. And, but it's important to the state that agriculture is healthy. I said the other night to a group, I said they depend on us to produce a big soybean, a big corn crop, but they don't always count on us making money. And that's always been a big goal of mine, is that there's value for the people that are growing it. So, and not always just necessarily get a government check. So thank you all.
And I'm going to have you stay there. Access to healthcare remains a challenge across rural Missouri. What actions should the legislature take to strengthen rural hospitals and increase access to physicians and mental health services?
I've got Memphis Hospital in my district, you know, my 4th district. You've got Kirksville here. Getting the money for the cancer center, I was for Hannibal moving into this area, period. I certainly wasn't for putting any roadblocks in front of the dollars to make the cancer center happen. I think a lot of things are going to happen in the healthcare industry that we would have said a year ago would never going to happen. And one thing that I'm very enthused about is that we call it Health Span down in LaBelle. And that is I call it Doc Adams on Gunsmoke. Basically, it's a way to fund a local doctor and local health care. And I think things like that need to be done. Just remember, Farm Bureau, and like I said, I was proud to be endorsed by them. Farm Bureau had a healthcare plan that took 3 years to pass. And it passed 150 to 1 in the House, and that took 3 years. So I'm not excusing it. I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying sometimes that's the way things happen. But even the things that are kind of obvious take time. I'm looking forward to being your representative in the Senate. Jason Bean will probably be the leader in the Senate. He's a farmer from the Boot Heel, and I think the legislature needs a whole lot more people down there that have paid a bill, have made payroll, and have shown that they can work together. And so that would be as good answers I have on the healthcare. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
We have to work hard to keep our healthcare, our hospitals, and our rural clinics open. I live close to Mexico, Missouri. We lost our hospital here 3 or 4 years ago. And they're trying to work, they're trying to get ideas, but it don't look to be going forward very quickly. I went to Memphis here a few weeks ago. I was pleasantly surprised by the hospital that they have there in Memphis. It looked like a very nice facility. You're talking about a town that's less than population of 2,000 people. In Scotland County, it's not a high population county. Unionville, over here in Putnam County, they have a hospital. I've not seen it, so I don't know exactly how it is. You go to Herman, there's another small town of less than 2,500 people. And it's not in our area, but they have a hospital and it seems to be doing fine. We have to work with those hospitals to get ideas to help start new hospitals like in the area of Mexico and get things going. And we're going to have to work hard to keep the hospitals that we have. As our federal government keeps cutting money for medical aid and the state, it's going to make it harder and harder on our rural communities to keep our health care. And if we don't have health care, who really wants to live in a community or move to a community where you don't have health care? Adair County is lucky that your population, you're one of the 2 counties in the 18th that has seen a population increase. The other county is over by Hannibal, Rawls County. Knox County's lost over 30% of their population since the 80s. So it's been tough times and we're going to have to work hard to get things turned around. Thank you.
Thank you. You might as well stay up there.
I'm trying to run away.
You're getting your steps in, right?
Pardon me?
You're getting your steps in. Yeah. Mhm. Okay, so question 4. Missouri has recently debated taxes, spending priorities, and the state budget. What principles would guide your decisions when voting on the state budget?
Well, we have an amendment that we're going to be voting on here in a few days. Amendment number 5. They want to do away with the state income tax, which generates close to $9 billion in this state. And they want to put it all on sales tax, which has been generating around $4.5 billion a year. So if they do away, if Amendment 5 passes, you're not only cutting a lot of revenue out of the state, but whoever is in Jeff City as legislators, they're going to have all the power because you've taken away the Hancock bill. You've done away with a lot of protections, and they will be able to raise your taxes however and wherever, whether it's on agriculture equipment that currently is exempt, parts for agriculture equipment, service, doctor bills. There'll be taxes on everything. Real estate sales, that's all up for game. And when they tell you that, no, that won't happen, we won't do that to you, keep in mind that this plan is at least a 5-year plan. And the people that are there today, more than likely will be turned out or voted out before that 5 years is up. So please vote no on 5.
Thank you.
Would you repeat that, Mary?
Yes, I can. Missouri has recently debated taxes, spending priorities, and the state budget. What principles would guide your decision when voting on state budget?
My first priority is funding public education, K-12 in the state, period. I talked a little bit earlier about the things that we're looking at, and that at times we struggle with down there because rural Missouri has put one party in charge, and at times I kind of think we forget what rural Missouri does for everybody. That's probably the biggest issue out here in the state. As I said, Amendment 5 and its version of 172, 174, whatever it was in, I voted against it twice. I voted against it when it was in 3 years, waiving the Hancock Amendment, setting aside, or whatever you want to call it. And it came back out of the Senate with 5 years, and I voted against it again. And so I certainly have shown that I'll stand up for Northeast Missouri. Now, we may disagree. You may think it's the greatest thing in the world. But for rural Missouri and for agriculture, the pitfalls are huge. The things that haven't been taxed, I've lived 20 miles from Illinois all my life. The Hancock Amendment kept us from becoming Illinois. And the first one, the easiest one for the legislature is going to look at is gas and diesel fuel. Not only will it generate revenue on the taxes, but it'll also put a dig into the road tax because it'll cut down the amount that we sell. So that's one reason Amendment 5 is more important than the Senate race. I'll just tell you that right now. But if Amendment 5 passes, unfortunately, I think it will be something that will be awful hard for the rural areas. So I'm just, of all the things we've talked about tonight, that's probably the most important thing to vote no on 5. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to have an audience question. Would you be in favor of putting a limit on PAC spending or negative advertising?
You all have probably seen my beautiful face a few times. And let me tell you, I've got a guy that's helping me in Jeff City, and I told him if there's anything that ever comes out of my campaign account, and I do have a PAC account, when I say I don't know what it's doing, I really don't. Brian Munslinger is the treasurer of it. But as far as I know, there's never been anything come out of it on negative. So I'll tell you right now, and the same way, whatever happens on Tuesday, just happens. And as Catholics, we don't always wear our faith on our sleeve as much as some people do, but I'll do whatever God says I ought to do. As far as limiting or whatnot, I'm a conservative. Money is free speech. Parts of it I don't like, but it is free speech. And to count on the voters to make a decision on this primary, if you can't tell or can't tell somebody else that something is photoshopped, Nancy Pelosi and I were not buds. Dr. Fauci and I were not running around the state fair in a smock together or with a needle that looks like you could put a direct injection into somebody's heart. So in that respect, but it is free speech. And remember, negative advertising always has a kernel of truth, but it just expands, So certainly as someone that should be against it, but I'm also a free speech guy. And I think that the voters will make up their mind any more than in Republican committees vetting candidates. I'm not for that. I let the voters try to decide which direction we ought to go. So thank you.
Thank you.
Repeat that, please.
Would you be in favor of putting a limit on PAC spending or negative advertising?
And that's tax spending. No, I hate to put a limit on it because we don't know what the future is going to hold. And I take it that you're asking about state spending.
No, I'm talking about PAC
money.
PAC money.
That we're back to dark money, and I am against the dark money. You've got corporations, wealthy people, data centers that are spending millions of dollars. They go into these super PACs and nobody knows who's donating that money. This is my first time to run, and I've had to deal with MEC down here in Missouri, and they keep track of everything. You get $20, you got to keep track of it. Write it out. If you get $100, you're limited to $2,400, I believe it is, per person that you can take per election, not millions of dollars. So no, I think that should be a limit on that. I think we need to do away with the super PAC money. And I don't believe the idea that free speech from a company considered as a person is wrong. Companies are not people. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And we already know your stance on both of your stance on Amendment 5, but what is your stance on the other amendments in the August election? And you don't have very much time to do it. So I realize that you might have to just pick one or two.
Amendment 1, I'll be a yes vote on it. It's the state parks. It's not raising your taxes. It's a continuation. It's been a good program. It's been around since 1984. It's a 10-year extension of what's already been there. State parks, historical sites, and soil and water conservation. It's a good deal. 2 doesn't really affect us one way or the other there, so you can vote how you feel, I guess, on that. 3, I will be a no vote. 4 is, now I'm going to go brain dead. Pardon me?
Initiative petition.
Yeah.
4 will be a no vote. Yes, on that. That's going to limit what the people can bring in to be able to vote for and make laws with. And right now we've had over 20 years of Republican control of our state. So that will change eventually, one way or the other. It'll be Democrat lead. And remember, what you vote on today might come back to bite you in the butt later. Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, yes, on 1, that's something a young man did a fine job explaining that. On 2, it's a Kansas City issue. It needs to be passed, so I think it'll pass. Number 3, coming up in November, I'm going to vote for it. It would take too long to explain it. Like I say, I come from a big Catholic family. We're staunchly pro-life, but our kids are much more liberal than we are at times, and it's probably the best we can do. 4, I'm for 4. It's same way. It's not the best it's not the best thing we've ever put out by far. And it's always been held up in the Senate. It's been held up by a group of people, and one of them's running in my race. He's not here tonight, but you've seen a lot of mailers on him. And that group has pretty well killed IP reform. And I'm not proud of that. The problem in Jeff City has been we've had 3 parties. We've had the Democrats, the Republicans, and then we've had a group of people that are kind of out there that are funded by trial attorneys. When you talk about special money, trial attorneys are funding one group, charter schools and their advocates are funding the other group. And most of my money's coming from farmers and businessmen and locals here in the area. So that's why you're seeing, remember, one of those flyers takes about 20 grand. So especially with that nice color, they got black and white when they look bad, and then they go from there. Fortunately, I don't have a mug shot for them to use. So, but anyway, it's, and that's why I hope people vote no on 5. So, and I hope I explained that all to everybody. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you. This concludes our questions for our state senators, candidates. And we do thank you for taking the time to come here. I know that there were other places that you could have been tonight, and
nothing's as good as being here with you, Marie.
oh, gee, thank you.
The one thing I wish I'd have said was MSTA has endorsed me, Missouri State Teachers Association.
Oh,
so
good.
anyway, for what that's worth, but I think there's probably a few teachers in here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, our final candidate that is here tonight is Quentin Wilson. He is a candidate for state auditor. We have 4 candidates for state auditor. Quentin Wilson and Gregory Upchurch are the Democrats, and Scott Fitzpatrick and Gerald Wistrand Jr. are the Republican candidates. Scott Fitzpatrick is the incumbent. So Quentin, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and then I know you have something to show us.
Maybe not. I'll talk about it for a second though, but after some of the comments, I think there might be more agreement than I expected.
The state auditor must often review agencies led by members of their own political party. How would you demonstrate independence and impartiality?
Well, there was a book written about, it's called Mastering Excellence, and they had examples from different sectors. And I was the example from the government sector. And I'm not saying that to brag. What I'm really saying in answer to your question, because at the end of the paragraph, talking about some of the leaders from different sectors, it said one common theme that people mentioned about these people who achieved good results was that they were difficult. Now, I take that as a compliment. I have done this job, and it was never winning a popularity contest. That's actually one of the reasons I thought maybe I should never run for public office, because I'm not really good at those popularity contests. I stayed away from running for office since I became senior class president at Kirkwood High School, where I went to high school and where I still live. But it is really important to be able to face facts. I also think, though, that it's a lot easier than you might think, and that is what I'll talk about more with specific questions.
Okay. How do you feel like the auditor's office should balance identifying problems with helping agencies improve their operations?
That's a great question. I feel a little funny back here. If you come back and look at this thing, it looks like the something out of Battlestar Galactica or something. It's great technology they have at AT still. I think that a lot of auditing, at least as it's practiced, and this isn't just in Missouri recently, around the country, is a lot of gotcha. And I also called it closing the barn door after the cows are gone. These are after the fact announcements. It's gotcha. I really think, from my experience in government, and I've worked in a lot of agencies and I've worked in governor's offices where you had to oversee those agencies. most people want to do the right thing. And I think there's an example in auditing, they talk about watchdogs. And I have a watchdog. It barks all the time. I don't even know if there's anybody out there. And I sometimes feel like our auditing function is that way. What I think it should be is not a lap dog, which is really also what we have in the current operation. We're not out front. What we need is a guide dog and a watchdog. We need people helping the agencies do a better job. I've worked in several agencies, economic development. I was director of revenue, and I was commissioner of higher education. And in each of those cases, I had to go in and tell people not everything they wanted to hear, but we got good results. And we started with what outcome are we trying to achieve? And I think the auditor can do a lot more and help the state be a lot more cost effective in everything it does. Somebody told me, my opponent on the Democratic side said at an event, he's a fiscal conservative. I thought, well, that's not really a good insult. I am a fiscal conservative. I think most Missourians are, but we want results.
Yeah, okay. And then finally, how would you make audit findings more understandable and accessible to the public?
Well, I'm not going to try just to make it just exciting. I think it actually is one of the most boring sounding offices in government. I appreciate all you staying here to hear this. I don't know, did Oliver stay? Because I did want to meet him. I would like to, because I notice with my grandkids, that always makes me look more interesting when I've got a baby around. But I think that it really is powerful. It can get a lot, there can just be a lot more done than has been done. It may never be exciting. A lot of the results may happen behind the scenes, but I assure you, we will get a bigger bang for the buck in every part of state government and local government. This isn't just state auditing, than the current auditor who said, the purpose of auditing, and this was on October 29th in the Columbia Missourian, he said the purpose of the state auditor is to tell people when they're going to run out of money so they can begin planning. Well, I can tell you when we're going to run out of money. It's a lot more than that, and we're not getting the bang for the buck in that office. If we don't set a good example, how do we expect the agencies to also perform better for less?
Okay, well, I really appreciate you being here. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to point to the map.
Well, it's really about the biggest issue. The biggest issue is that can I take this thing
Yeah,
off of this?
I think you can.
I won't sing. I promise I won't try to do Don Shane or something. Or maybe Almost Heaven. I'm pretty good at that one. But over the past 25 years, Missouri has gotten a lot worse at everything. I'm talking about the government and the conditions. 25 years ago, I was working under Governor Carnahan, Roger Wilson, and Holden. Twice we were ranked the best managed state in the country. And when I tell people that now, they're like, really? Because we didn't really we were working in a very bipartisan way. I heard some bipartisan talk up here that I really think is necessary to get results. We got that done by working across party lines. But now we've dropped from number 1 to one ranking has us 31, another 40th, another has us 43rd. And that just is intolerable. It means that health has gotten worse. It means that our education has gotten worse, not just funding, but results. It means that our economic growth has gotten worse. We have cut taxes 33 times. We're now one of the 6th lowest tax states. And still, over these last 25 years, our economy is the 6th slowest growing state. I am glad to be here with the chamber who works for jobs, with the Farm Bureau. I don't know, is Andy here? I did call the Farm Bureau. I said, can I stop by and say hi to your folks? I think somebody's going to be there. But I really appreciate the joining everybody with the community together. And this is only about the 3rd time I've seen an opportunity, and I took them, where they are bipartisan, where you've had speakers from both sides. A lot of Democrats will have a venue for somebody like me to talk, but I will tell you that working together, we are going to get a lot more results for less. And it'll be you involved, not just the government. This is not anything the government can do by itself. So we're going to get results. We're going to work with you, and we're going to be accountable to you. So I'd appreciate your support. My first name is Quentin, last name is Wilson. Quentin like San Quentin Prison, just so you make sure you can kind of remember that. I know that might not be a good analogy, but that's what I'm going with. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you
Okay.
for hosting us.
Thank you so much. Okay, we would like to remind you that tonight's forum will be available on the Kirksville Chamber of Commerce YouTube page. I will have a link posted on Facebook. Please pick up an amendment package if if you want to learn more about the amendments. They're on the ballot on August 4th. And please join me in thanking the Governmental Affairs Committee of the Chamber of Commerce for coordinating this event, Shade Shorten for working as our timekeeper, and I'd also like to thank ATSU for allowing us to use these rooms for our forum, and Dean Mogg and Stephanie Elsey for manning the video. I know they're doing a much better job than I did at our last one. So this forum has been brought to you by the Governmental Affairs Committee of the Kirksville Area Chamber of Commerce. And please remember to vote on August 4th. Good night and enjoy the rest of your week.